The following program is brought to you by the California Color Guard Circuit in conjunction with Wildwood Studios. Enjoy. Welcome everyone to California Color Guard Circuit's Educational Series 2025. My name is Tom Andrews. I'm the Circuit Chief Judge and I will be your host for this series. Episode 1 will focus on prep for the evaluation show. We'll look at a seasonal calendar and I'll point out some of the important dates this year. And I'll remind you of the timing criteria for the different classes. And finally, we'll listen in as our own superstar TMP judge Lee Carpenter goes through the new rules for us. Let's look at some important dates. Down the left side of this document, you'll see the CCGC show schedule. This year, we have 2 evaluation shows, January 25th at Logan and February 1st in Concord. And you're more than welcome to go to both, and both will have excellent panels. February 8th is the Indy show and the first competition, and February 15th is Logan, after which subclasses for Regional High School A and National High School A will be decided. March 8th is the Logan Regional, and Circuit Championships are at the end of March. And of course, the World Championship are the first 2 weeks in April. Let's talk about the evaluation show. The evaluation show is a tradition for CCGC and an important starting point for many of our units. The show is managed just like a regular show, however, no scores and no placement. There'll be 3 judges upstairs doing overall commentary and a timing and penalty judge down on the floor. Prior to evals, I'm asking everyone to name your show. Then we have a conversation starter at the critique. During the guard's performance, I invite the entire staff to stand or sit in the judging area. After the guard's performance, typically there'll be time for about a 5-minute critique. The panel will want to know your vision for the show and what we're not seeing. Then feel free to ask the judges any questions you may have. Think of us as consultants. Your evaluation panel are master class adjudicators. They're also masters at teaching and consulting with the newest generations. Take advantage of this 5 minutes and the recordings you get. They'll provide valuable input. Pay close attention to the timing criteria. On the next slide, Lee does an excellent job of detailing all the timing criteria along with the entrance and exit protocols. He will also describe the new height and safety requirements which are all being implemented this year at WGI.
Welcome to the CCGC Timing and Penalties Clinic. These are the new rules that will be enforced for the 2025 season for color guard, percussion, and winds. There are then some additional rules or reminders for color guard, so winds and percussion, you'll be told when you no longer need to listen. I'm Lee Carpenter, Timing and Penalty Judge for the CCGC, NCBA, and WGI. Both percussion and winds have lowered the minimum number of performers from 6 to 5. Color guard remains at a minimum of 5 performers. New safety rules for the 2025 season. Big news is they have basically lowered the height of props and structures to 4 feet above the competition floor. If anything is above 4 feet, you must have a safety railing, harness, or protective padding. The safety railing must be at least 42 inches high at all points and surround the performer a minimum of 50%. The harness has to be able to restrain the performer from falling and have the performer stop at a minimum of 3 feet. This may be changing, though, as we have not had our annual WGI timing and penalties meeting. Protective padding, like a gymnastics type, must be 2 inches in depth or more. Example of the safety harness, example of railing, and the protective padding. If a participant is placed on any portion of a proper structure, the lowest point of contact, whether it's feet, hands, etc., is no more than 4 feet above the competition floor, the following is required. If the proper structure is in motion, the participant must actively use the appropriate safety railing or harness the entire time the prop is in motion. So you cannot do an equipment solo or an instrument solo while the prop is in motion. If the prop is stationary with safety railings in place, the participant does not have to actively use the safety railing. If the prop is stationary with no safety railing, participant must be harnessed or padding around the structure. Participant executing a lift or stunt while atop any prop or structure may not lift another participant above 4 feet in height above the competition floor unless protective padding or other adequate safety precautions are in place. Participants are prohibited from jumping or leaping off of any prop or structure that exceeds 4 feet in height above the competition floor unless protective padding or other adequate safety precautions are in place. WGI and CCGC shall at all times have the final authority to prohibit the use of prescribed additional safety measures of any prop or structure that presents an unreasonable or unacceptable risk of injury or harm to a participant or other potential dangers to the competition venue or its property. Directors are encouraged to contact the WGI Director of Color Guard to inquire about the use of particular props or structures and when it's permissible under this section and the specific site that it may be used in question. 10-point penalty to disqualification at the discretion of the contest administrator, not including or limited to prohibited use of the over height or unsafe props. What started all these safety requirements? Several years ago, during a performance of Spider-Man on Broadway, one of the performers was not harnessed correctly and fell to his death. Of course, then OSHA got involved. Then WGI and DCI got into the act. On the left is a percussion show that was about pro wrestling, and they had a performer actually leaping from a 10-foot high ladder. On the right, we had a young lady in Blue Devils fall off of a prop and get hurt and miss the rest of the season. Yes, I know this is Santa Clara Vanguard, but it's the best picture I could find. Here's some props and structures. Tell me if you think they're legal. What about this one? It is legal as the safety railing is 42 inches all the way across, and it's on both sides, so 50%. You think legal or not? Yes, it's legal. It has the safety padding underneath, protecting the performers. What about this giant seesaw? No, it is not legal. There's no safety harness, there's no padding, there's no railing. There's two more. The one on the left, yes, it's legal. It has padding underneath, although I wouldn't put the sabers there. This one is also legal as they have spotters to help in case he slips. What about the one on the left? No, illegal. Well, it has some padding. There's not enough because there's all kinds of places this performer could fall, and that is not considered a spotter. One on the right is also illegal. While it's 42 inches here, it doesn't remain 42 inches the whole way. Last one. Yes, it's illegal. While there is railing, it's only on one side, not 50%, so it would have to be on both sides. That's it for winds and percussion. Thank you for your time. Color Guard, continue with me. color guard, it's extremely important that the directors and the performers know where the interval timeline is, whether it's vertical or horizontal. There might also be side boundary lines. Any tabulation table or trophy table must have a 5-foot safety zone around it. Here's what you'll find when you come to a color guard show. A group is at the ready line. When told to go, they move onto the competition zone. Floor tarp comes off the cart. They start to unfold it. Props move into position, and you move up to the timeline, but do not cross the interval timeline yet. When told to go, group crosses the timeline to finish setup. When they cross this timeline, interval time starts. This is when the first announcement is read. Example: please welcome from Alviso, California, ABC High School. 60 seconds into the interval time, the pre-show music can start. All classes can now have a pre-show. A minute 30 into interval time, or 2 minutes for world class, the second announcement is read. Example: presenting their show, Oz Revisited, the CCGC is proud to present ABC High School. All classes can have the second announcement embedded in their pre-show soundtrack, but you must use those exact words as stated in the rulebook. After the second announcement, the first movement or note of music performance time begins, even if members are still setting up, unless a staff member tells the timing and penalty judge during setup what time you want the second announcement to be given. Example: we'd like the announcement at the 1:51 mark. Or staff member stands next to the T&P judge and cues them when to do the second announcement. You cannot do this from the stands. You must be next to the T&P judge. Again, after the second announcement, the first movement or note of music performance time starts, even if the guard is still setting up. All staff members and parents must be out of the competition zone by the end of the second announcement. When the first piece of authorized equipment is picked up, equipment time starts. This may be simultaneous with the start of performance time. If you aren't mindful of the second announcement, performance time will begin before you want it, and you could go overtime. Or your interval time could also go overtime. Equipment time also starts even though they're setting up equipment. There's a 5/10 penalty for every staff member and parent that's in the competition zone after the second announcement, and a 5/10 penalty for every performer that goes outside into the safety zone. All performers must enter and exit the competition area through the designated doors or ramp. 5/10 penalty for performers failing to use the designated doors. All personnel, equipment, and props must clear the interval timeline at the conclusion of interval time. The timeline shall be visible only for use by the timing and penalty judge. The designated tape may not go all the way across the floor.
I hope this episode was helpful. Episode 2, I'll do a brief overview of the scoring system. I'll focus more on subclasses, and then I'll talk about how to listen to judges' commentary. Have a great time putting your shows together, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone and your programs.